Land rights. Chapter 6, Lesson 4. Vocabulary. Property right, squatter, commission, reservation. Build on what you know. Think of a shirt or book you own. Can you prove that you own it? Californios had to prove that they owned their land. Californio lands. Main idea. Californios had to prove that they owned the land on which they lived and ranched. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo made everyone in California, including California Indians and Californios, citizens of the United States. The treaty also protected their religious and property rights. A property right is a person's right to own and control possessions such as land or other property. The Land Commission. Most California landowners had owned their land since California was part of Spain. Others were granted land by the Mexican government. Newcomers from other parts of the United States wanted California lands. Some moved onto the land and became squatters. A squatter lives on land without the owner's permission. Squatters said the land they lived on was theirs. Some fought California landowners with guns and knives. To deal with the conflicts, the United States Congress passed the Land Act of 1851. This law set up the Land Commission to settle conflicts over land in California. A commission is a group that meets to solve a problem. The commission told Californios to prove they own their lands. Yet the commission did not accept certain papers from earlier Spanish or Mexican governments of California as proof. Most Californios had no other papers. The Land Commission looked at more than 800 cases. Most of the cases were not decided for many years. Californios won more than half the cases, but many had to sell their land to pay the costs of lawyers. One Californio, Maria Amparo Ruiz de Burton, wrote, "It makes me heartsick to think how unjustly the native Californios have been treated." Juan and Martina Ontiveros. This family, shown below, and others who owned ranchos had to sell large amounts of their land to pay lawyers. Reservations. Main idea. California Indians were forced to move to reservations. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo made California Indians citizens with property rights. During the gold rush, however, 49ers mined California Indian lands. Others came and started farms or businesses on these lands. To stop conflicts over land, the United States set up the Commission for Indian Reservations. A reservation is land set aside for American Indians. The Commission planned reservations. Some California Indians agreed to give up large areas of land because they believed the reservation lands would be protected from use by others. The map below has a legend with orange, red, and yellow showing the land in California in 1852. The light orange shows the lands given up or ceded by the California Indians. The dark orange or red is lands planned for reservations, and the yellow is the other California lands. Forced to move. U.S. lawmakers never agreed to the Commission's plans because newcomers wanted to take the reservation lands too. Years later, California Indians were forced to move to reservations that had fewer resources than the reservations the Commission planned. After being forced to move, many California Indians died from disease, starvation, and attacks. From 1848 to 1870, the California Indian population fell from 150,000 to about 30,000. The Modoc of Northern California left the reservations. In 1872, soldiers attacked the Modoc. Kint Puash led the Modoc into rugged lava fields. Kint Puash was a Modoc leader. He's the photo shown below. Like many other California Indian nations, the Modoc lost their lands. Modoc Wars. The Modoc fought for 6 months. In the end, they were forced to give up their land and move far away from their home. Many decades later, California Indians won protection for their rights. Some also proved their right to lands that had been taken away from them. Review. Why did the government move California Indians to reservations? Lava Beds National Monument, shown to the left. People today visit caves that the Modoc people knew well. The lesson summary. After California became a state, Newcomers wanted land. A land commission made Californios prove they owned their rancho lands. Newcomers also wanted California Indian lands. California Indians were forced to move lands with few resources. Many decades later, California Indians won protection of their rights. Why it matters. California's economy changed after newcomers took rancho and California Indian lands.